Hi, Banyan, and welcome to Cyprus. Goodness me, it's our first lesson together. So, can I just mention, Banyan class, we've had to miss out part of lesson 5 and flip over to lesson 6. So I've combined the two together. And so that Banyan and Cyprus are both on today's lesson. 16th of November, lesson 6, adding and subtracting fractions. So that's what we're learning to do today. What am I looking for? What's Mr. Hall looking for when you submit your work later? Let's have a look. Okay, I can interpret diagrams that represent fractions. I can find the lowest common multiple to find the lowest common denominator. What vocabulary will I be using and you be using in your work today? Mixed number fraction, improper fraction, convert, representation, lowest common multiple, lowest common denominator, and equivalent. Here goes. All right, step 1 in our discover. Look at the information that's been given to you, which, to be fair, we've got a horse, 2 horses, a horse's hand, young lady there. We've got a stable. Looks like we've got a couple of bales of hay, which is horse's food, a pail of water and a pitchfork. Now, not really a lot of mathematics going on there. We've got Hattie the horse here on the left and we've got Molly the horse here on the right. So right now, there's not a lot we can glean from this. So let's have a look and see what the horse's hand is saying. And she says, I need to feed Hattie 2/3 of a bale of hay in the morning and a 1/6 in the evening. Okay, now we're talking maths. So, hi Hattie, that's what you eat, 2/3 and a 1/6. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, so there's 1 bale of hay. And apparently in the morning, AM, Hattie eats 2/3 of that bale. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, split into 3 equal parts. That's 1/3, that's 2/3. So 2/3 of that bale of hay are eaten in the morning. In the evening, another bale of hay is given to Hattie. Apparently it's a 1/6. So if we to split our bale of hay into 6 equal parts, apparently 1/6 is eaten. So with that in mind, what's the maths problem? What fraction of a bale of hay does Hattie eat in a day? So quick reminder, in the morning, 1/2 of that bale of hay are eaten. And then in the evening, 1/6. So to find the total of how much Hattie eats in a day, surely I'm going to have to add 2/3 and 1/6. Let's see. Yeah. Step 2. We are going to have to add these fractions to find the total. So here we have a bar fraction diagram. We've got our 2/3 represented here. Okay, 1/3 and another third, all together 2/3 in blue. So that apparently is what Hattie eats in the morning. And then in green, we've got here a 1/6. That's what Hattie eats in the evening. Right. Piece of advice. When adding or subtracting fractions, we need to find a common denominator. So we've got 2/3 here and we've got 1/6 here. But the denominators, if we were adding 2/3 and a 1/6, are different. So that's why we need to find a denominator that's the same, that's common to both of those fractions. And to do that, we need to whiz back to our lowest common multiple. And in this case, we're going to go for the lowest common multiple of the first fraction that we're adding, and that is a denominator there of thirds. So let's have a look. Okay, so there's our denominator. What possible common multiples can we have? Well, we can have 3, we can have 6, we can have 9, 12, 15. At the moment, I'm just going to stop at 6. The reason being because we're going to add 6, and we've already got our denominator here of 6. So our common multiple of 6 is also 6. So it looks like we're going to have to deal in 2/3 converting into 6. So how do we do that? Well, we need to have the lowest common multiple of 3 and 6, which is 6. So 2/3 converts to 6. because you multiply the denominator by 2 and the numerator by 2. So 2/3 converts to 4/6. And now we're ready to add our fractions because both are in sixths. So we can add 4/6 and we can add a sixth. 4/6 representing 2/3, which is the morning feed, and 1/6 doesn't need converting because we're already in a common denominator of 6 representing the evening feed. Now all we need to do is to simply add the numerators together because we've got 1/6, 2/6, 3/6, 4/6 added to 1/6 gives us a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/6. So 4/6 add 1/6 is 5/6. So Hattie eats 5/6 of a bale of hay in the day. Okay. Step 3. Now there's another horse you might have noticed. Her name is Molly and she eats 1/4 of a bale less than Hattie each day. The question being, how much hay does Molly eat? Less than. Oh yeah, another word for a synonym for subtracting. So I need to subtract here. Okay, let's have a look at the information. Hattie, remember? Hattie eats 5/6 of a bale of hay every day in total. And Molly apparently eats 1/4 less than that. So I'm going to have to subtract 1/4 from 5/6. In other words, 5/6 subtract 1/4. Let's have a look and see how that's done because the denominators are not the same again. So you're going to have to find a common denominator by using your knowledge of the lowest common multiple. Let's have a look at a common multiple that is common to both 6 and 4. The denominators here on the fractions that we need to subtract. So multiples of 6. We've got 6, 12, 18. I'm going to stop at 12. Okay. And we've got a denominator of 4. So multiples of 4, 4, 8, 12. And once again, common multiples, and the lowest common multiple for these denominators has got to be 12. So what we do next, we've got to convert 5/6 into 12ths and 1/4 into 12ths so that we can add them together. This is how we do it. Okay, 5/6. For a sixth to become a 12th, we need to use the common factor of 2. So we multiply 6 by 2 to give us 12ths. And what we do to the bottom, we do to the top. So 5 multiplied by 2 gives us 10. So 5/6 in 12ths is 10/12ths. Let's do the same to 1/4 and then we can subtract. Okay, so we've got 4 as a denominator and we need to convert to 12ths. So 4 multiplied by 3 gives us the 12th that we're interested in. And what we do to the bottom, we do to the top. 1 times 3 is 3. So 1/4 is equivalent to 3/12ths. Now we can do the maths. Okay, you ready for this? Looks complicated, but it's not. So we've got the original question. 5/6, take away 1/4. All right, 5/6, subtract 1/4. And we have converted 6 into here, 10/12ths, take away 3/12ths. And now we can simply subtract the numerators. So we've got 10, take away 3 gives us 7/12ths. So Molly eats 7/12ths of a bale of hay in a day. All right, how about Hector? I want to introduce you to Hector. Apparently he eats 1/8 of a bale of hay in the morning and 3/4 of a bale of hay in the evening. And the question being, how much hay does Hector eat in a day? Okay, let's see that represented as a bar diagram. Here we've got 1/8. So 1 out of the 8 equal parts, and that represents how much hay Hector eats in the morning. We have another bar diagram representing how much hay Hector eats in the evening, 3/4. So we've got 3, 1, 2, 3 out of 4 equal parts, and that is quarters. So how much does he eat in a day? Well, we're going to have to add 1/8 to 3/4 to find a total. But we got a problem. We don't have a common denominator. 8 and 4 are the denominators. So to be able to add fractions, we need to find a common denominator. So I just want you to pause the video in a moment and have a go and see if you can find, using your knowledge of the lowest common multiple, a common denominator to add 1/8 and 3/4. 1/8 and 3/4. Okay, pause the video and come back to me and we'll explain how we find the answer. Okay, here we go. Are you ready? So before you paused, I asked you to find out what is the total of 1/8 plus 3/4, which would represent the amount of hay that Hector the horse eats in a day. So the first move is to think about the lowest common multiple. So what multiple is common to 8, the denominator in 1/8, and 4, the denominator in 3/4? Well, the lowest common multiple of 8 is simply 8. The lowest common multiple of 4 is 4 and 8. So it looks to me the common multiple that links both of those fractions is 8. Okay, so now we need to convert those fractions into eighths. Well, 3/4 we can convert into eighths because we need to multiply the denominator by 2. And then what we do to the bottom, we do to the top. The numerator then multiplies by 2. So 3/4 is the same as 6/8. Now, it looks to me like we already have eighths here. Look, the amount of hay eaten by Hector in the morning. So we don't need to convert that any further. So 1/8 plus the converted 3/4, which is 6/8, will now give us a total of 7/8, because 1/8 plus 6/8 is 7/8. So therefore, Hector eats 7/8 a bale of hay in a day. Oh, hungry Hector, eh? Okay, let's think together. Now, Callie eats 2/3 of a bale of hay. Scooby eats 5/9 of a bale of hay less. Question is, how much does Scooby eat? Okay. Here's some information that you might find in your Power Maths books. Probably familiar with the layout. I want you to pause the video and see if you can populate the missing numbers, parts of the fractions, to find out how much hay Scooby eats in a day. Okay, pause the video, come back to me in a moment. Okay, so first thing we need to think about is the lowest common multiple of 3 and 9. Now, I know 2/3, 5/9 are the fractions that we're dealing with. So I need to find a denominator that both of these fractions can be the same. And to do that, okay, I've got 1/3, 2/3 represented here on my bar diagram. Happy with that? And I know that 9 is a common multiple here of 9 and 3. So to convert 2/3 into ninths, I need to multiply the denominator by 3 and the numerator by 3 to give me 6/9. Let's have a look and see what that looks like. So apparently 2/3 is equivalent to 6/9. Let's have a look. Okay, so there's our 2/3 diagram. This is the amount of hay that Callie eats. So we've got our 1/3 and our 2/3 in yellow represented here, you can see. Okay, so what does that look like in terms of ninths? Here we go. 1/9, 2/9, 3/9. Like 1/3 is the equivalent to 3/9. Oh yeah, I can see that. So 2/3 must be the equivalent to 6/9. Let's have a look. Oh, 4/9, 5/9, 6/9. So I can see now by converting to ninths that 2/3 is the equivalent to 6/9. So with that in mind, okay, 6/9 or the original 2/3, which is what Callie eats, subtract 5/9, which is apparently the amount that Scooby eats, all right, gives me a leftover 9th. 1/9. So Scooby eats 1/9 of a bale of hay. Yes, correct. And let's have a look. 6/9, subtract those 5/9 does indeed leave me with just 1/9. Okay. Think together. Again, a power maths type question that you're familiar with from your maths books at school. I want you to work out what's a 6 plus 3/8. Think about the lowest common multiple, and that will go here. And then you can convert 1/6 into its lowest common multiple so that the denominator is a common denominator, 3/8, and then see if you can add the two together to give me the final total of 1/6 and 3/8. Pause the video, come back to me, and we'll work this out together. Okay, so hopefully you've had a chance to work out a 6 plus 3/8. Let's have a look. The lowest common multiple of the denominators of 6 and 8 here in a 6 and 3/8 will be, okay, lowest common multiple of 6. We could go for 6, 12, 18, 24. But we need to find the lowest common multiple that's also in 3/8. So let's have a look at the denominator of 8. 8, 16. I can see a common multiple is, of course, 24. So we're looking to convert our two fractions into 24ths. So what would 1/6 be converted into a 24th? Let's have a look. Well, to get from 6 to 24, we need to multiply by 4. So our denominator of our conversion is 24ths. What we do to the bottom, we do to the top. So 1 times 4. Okay, so 1/6 is equivalent to 4 24ths. Now, what about 3/8? Thing is, to get from 8 to 24, we need to multiply by 3. So 3/8 converted into 24ths will be the same as 9 24ths. And now we can populate the final part of our calculation. 4 24ths added to 9 24ths gives me a total of 13 24ths. Okay, I've whizzed through lots of work with regards to finding lowest common multiples. So that's from previous lessons. And I hope, Cypress, you can recall that from before we had to work from home last week. And then we've talked about lowest common denominators, and then we've talked about adding and subtracting fractions. So where the denominator is the same, where you've converted it, it's a question of adding the numerators or subtracting the numerators, depending on what operation you are doing. So now it's your turn to have a go. The work today, there are 3 pages of work. Here it is. You can pause the screen when the video is over, rewind back and pause so that you can see the questions. If you need the question sheets, please don't hesitate to message myself or Mr. Hall and we can send you a PDF. So there are 3 pages. Here are the first 2 and the final page with the reflect. Amelia is working out the answer, 2/5 plus a quarter. Apparently she does convert using the lowest common multiple to a common denominator and it looks like it's 20ths, but she ends up with an answer. Oh, there is a mistake. Okay, so think about what mistake Amelia has made and it gives you space to explain your reasoning. So as usual, I'm interested in you using the vocabulary from today's lesson. Lowest common multiple, lowest common denominator, equivalent, convert, and so on. Okay, and finally, if you fancy a deepening challenge, here we've got some tricky addition pyramids. A little bit of advice at the bottom. Okay, I think I might need to subtract to find some of the missing fractions, says our friend dressed in green. However, our friend dressed in orange says, I think it would help to think about common denominators. I'll leave it with you. Well done to Banyan, well done to Cypress, and lesson 6, tick, complete. Mr. Hall and I are sitting tight waiting for your photographs of your pieces of work, and of course if there are any problems, don't hesitate to message either of us on Class Dojo. Good luck today. Speak soon. Take care. Miss Barrett signing out for today. Bye-bye.